All right, we are back, everyone. We have so much to talk about. We have multiple big awards that have come through. LA is announced, Boston, the National Board of Review, and the Golden Globe nominations have come out. So we're going to review all of those with our brilliance and our mustaches, and then we will then do our Critics' Choice Award predictions because those are coming out very soon. It's all happening, y'all. It's all
It's all
happening very
happening. So
quickly.
strap in because this is going to be like 3 hours of us just talking about Sandra Huller.
This is really the official Sandra Huller podcast at this point. Cool. Let's dive in. I think National Board of Review has been out the longest. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'll go over the winners and then we can chat overall thoughts. So best film was Killers of the Flower Moon. Best director was Martin Scorsese. Best actor was Paul Giamatti. Best actress was Lily Gladstone for Killers. Supporting actor was Mark Ruffalo, Poor Things. Supporting actress, Divine Joy Randolph. The NBR Icon Award went to Bradley Cooper.
Good for him.
Honestly, slay.
They don't know what to do with him. They don't know what to do with him.
Let's pause there and just talk about those above the line winners. What are your thoughts?
I mean, when we talked about it last time, I think we were sort of saying let's go with the most predictable like choices in every category, which is sort of what happened, I guess. I'm not surprised that they went with Killers. I had a feeling it was either Oppenheimer or Killers, and I felt like Oppenheimer was even more obvious than Killers, but I think Killers has just been doing really, really well so far with a lot of different critics, so that's not too surprising. Scorsese, I think I predicted, and again, not surprised that they would match movie and director. I'm just very impressed with Divine Joy Randolph just pretty much winning everything so far.
Yeah,
Because it really started here. I don't think she has lost a supporting actress award yet,
I think you're right. I think she's won just
which
about
is
everything.
which is incredible. And if that keeps going, I'm more than okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Ruffalo makes his first, I think, appearance for Poor Things. Um, I don't expect. I mean, I think he could very easily get nominated. I don't expect he'll win the Oscar, but at least he's on the map now. Um, the thing about Scorsese that I didn't realize is that every one of Scorsese's last 9 movies has been in the NBR top 10. The last movie Scorsese made that did not get in the top 10 was Bringing Out the Dead
Whoa.
in 1999.
So this
So,
century is, yep, 100% agree.
so I didn't know that going into NBR, but in retrospect, it's very. Um, I think it's not surprising that it won both film and director.
It's
They
not.
love
I
him.
mean, I think regardless of how I feel about it, it is a movie that feels important, I think, for people that are voting for it. Because it tells, I think, a story that feels important and meaningful. So I get the sentiment behind it. I guess I get that. It's just I don't think it's successful at what it's trying to do, but I'm not surprised. It's become kind of like the obvious sort of like go-to choice alongside Oppenheimer. I think what we've seen so far,
Yeah,
and I mean we're expecting it to get a truckload of nominations at the Oscars anyway, so it's not very surprising. Yeah,
yeah. This doesn't change anything. I think that we were thinking of before,
no.
and I agree with you on Killers. Like I think it's not successful at what it sets out to do. Martin Scorsese is trying to do some new things. I think, which is respectable given he's so far into his career. He doesn't always succeed. But Lily Gladstone is the other name that has been pretty much everywhere. There's been maybe 1 or 2 critics that have gone differently, but she's won just about everything as well.
I don't remember if we talked about it online or over chat, but I'm pretty sure that Gladstone's just going to sweep.
Yeah, it's starting to feel that way.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like it was obvious maybe all along, and we were talking about other names in here. and other options, but I just feel like it's really her year, and just the nature of the role and the fact that she also gives a really good performance. I think it's kind of a done deal. And obviously it's December, but I'd be very, very shocked if when the industry awards kick in, that someone just comes out of nowhere to kind of steal her thunder.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much done.
I'm starting to feel that way too. My going into the award season, I was worried that her relative or medium low level of screen time might play against her, but so far that has not been a problem at all for her. And again, she has a fantastic job. So I think she has a lot of support. We'll see when Poor Things comes out this weekend if like there's a stone bump, but right now it doesn't seem like it. I think we were kind of wondering if she would become like this undeniable thing, this poor thing that would kind of like take over the big awards. But I mean, she could still win the Globe because the Globes are the Globes. But right now, it's really looking like the stage is set for Gladstone.
Here's the fact that the transition from supporting to lead was so seamless that everybody bought it.
Yeah.
Without blinking, just a truckload of awards without people questioning. I think she was runner-up in supporting at LA when we got to talk about it.
Oh, right. Yes.
That's about it. I think pretty much everybody buys her as the lead female performance in the movie. It's just, unquestionable, I think. Yeah. It just speaks to the strength of her performance, how much she's just well liked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating to see the difference between people's reaction to her switching lead versus Michelle Williams last year for The Fabelmans.
Don't get me started.
Like Gladstone switch lead, everyone's like, okay, like supporting actress would have been a sure thing, but she's fantastic, so like I think she can win actress. Whereas Michelle Williams, it was like, what are you doing, girl? You have no chance in actress.
But also, like, when she came out and she was like, I haven't really seen the movie yet, but I just feel like I'm the lead in it. Go back to bed. Just stop.
I felt like in the scenes I was filming, I was the lead.
Yeah.
Because I was
when
in
I was
them.
on screen, I was on screen. So, yeah.
Bless her heart.
Yeah,
and then I think Best Actor for Paul Giamatti is inspiring. I really liked him. I think that helps. I don't know if he's guaranteed a nomination, but it definitely helps keep him right there in the hunt.
I'm pretty sure he's getting in. And I would imagine he actually wins the Globe.
I think he will now too. I've not seen the search for American Fiction.
Yeah. Give or take Jeffrey Wright. I think that category is set up for him to kind of take it, I think. And honestly, out of any possible scenario that I'm envisioning in terms of what happens with Best Actor, him winning would probably be up here in terms of me being happy.
Yeah, I would definitely enjoy him winning. I was surprised because I've never been like the huge Wild Giamatti fan, but I just loved what he did in The Holdovers. And it's funny because I think usually you think of the supporting performance as being sort of the one that brings along, or you think of the lead performance as the one that brings along the supporting performances in terms of nominations. But I think Divine's dominance in supporting actress actually helps him. Yeah. Because it keeps the movie front and center in people's minds.
Yeah. Mainly, I'm just hoping that this turns into sort of like a path for him to win, because he's pretty much shielding us from Cooper, which, I mean, still feels to me, honestly, it still feels to me like it's a little bit inevitable.
Yeah.
But
he is the NBR Icon Award winner.
Well, no one can take that away from him. But I mean, it hasn't turned yet, or at least hasn't yet turned into that kind of sweep that I was fearing. And granted, a lot can change when we start hearing from like SAG and all of that, but so far, I have hope. There's a hope there that it might actually not happen, Although it still feels like it's probably very likely going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Maestro has kind of been MIA for most of the critics awards so far. It made the top 10 here, but that's really one of the first times I've seen it in a top film list. So
Which again makes sense. It's MBR,
yeah, right.
but
Uh,
yeah,
just I don't want to. I don't think we need to go through every award, but screenplay, original screenplay went to The Holdovers. Adapted screenplay went to Poor Things. Directorial debut went to Past Lives, Celine Song. Animated feature was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. An international film continuing the streak, Anatomy of a Fall. Documentary, still a Michael J. Fox movie, which I think is definitely going to get nominated.
oh for sure.
Yeah. Ensemble went to The Iron Claw, which also hit the top 10. Kind of that fills the like masculine Mark Wahlberg-y slot that they always have.
Option, yeah.
And then Tiana Taylor won for breakthrough performance for 1001. So I still need to see that movie. I hear it's great. She's great in it.
Yeah, it's been available for a long time, and I haven't gone around it yet. I feel like she might resurface at SAG. Maybe I have a lingering feeling that if it's meant to happen, that she gets a little bit of a boost there. But I don't know. Like actress just seems kind of locked up for me.
Yeah, it's also. I mean, it's pretty crowded too. Where
Yeah.
there's the people in the bubble are also really strong. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have years. There's like years where we're scraping the bottom of the barrel pretty much.
yeah,
This year, there's a lot of contenders and like quality stuff, which is good.
yeah. And then the top 10, the rest of the top 10 was Barbie, The Boy and the Heron, Ferrari, The Holdovers, The Iron Claw, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, and Poor Things. Anything interesting stand out to you there?
The fact that Past Lives kind of started here and has been doing like just great across the board into like when we get to talk about the Globes, it's a lot stronger than I imagined, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm not the biggest fan of Past Lives. I thought it was fine. But I just like the idea of in a year where we have like behemoths like Oppenheimer and Barbie and for a smaller movie to really hold its own against this type of competition, I just think it's kind of heartening in a way.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
For smaller movies to find a place in the spotlight in a way which I think it also sort of like gives me a little bit of hope in terms of other smaller stuff, maybe like All of Us Strangers, for example, picking up some steam maybe later on. It just shows that people are watching these movies, which I think is good.
Yeah. It was interesting when it came out, everyone was started predicting it. And then there was this like precipitous drop off, I want to say like mid to late summer, where people just like were like, oh, it's never going to make it through the award season. Like it's too small. The stars are too unknown, but it has shown up everywhere.
Yeah.
It's won just about every first film award. And then as we'll talk about in a moment, it really showed up well at the Globes. So yeah, it's positioned very well. I think it's very safely in the top 10 right now.
And I was thinking if it gets in at SAG for ensemble, as small as that ensemble is, it's pretty much a done deal. I would imagine. Not that we've seen, like, I think the last few years, movies can still get a nomination for Best Picture, or even win Best Picture without a SAG ensemble nomination. That stat isn't as kind of like deadly anymore. But it just feels like it could, even with a smaller ensemble, kind of like peak there. And then, yeah, I mean, I already have it in probably. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to get in.
Yeah.
It'll be in like the 7-8 slot, I think, but I think it's definitely getting
also
in.
Because Song is just also showing up in like a lot of director lists.
Yeah.
which is, I think, another sign of just how strong the movie is. Period.
The Teo Yu has shown up at the Spirit Awards,
Yeah.
and he was also at Gotham, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely popping in places that I think people weren't expecting it to.
Yeah. Which again, I think it's great, regardless of how I feel about it. When smaller movies get this kind of exposure, I just think it's a good thing. Period. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was NBR. Let's chat real quick about Boston before we get to LA. So I think we'll probably talk more about LA.
Mm-hmm.
But Boston went big for the Holdovers,
Unsurprising.
and Zone of Interest started to pop up here. So best film was The Holdovers. Best director was Jonathan Glazer from Zone of Interest. Best actor was Paul Giamatti again. Actress was Lily Gladstone. Supporting actor was Ryan Gosling for Barbie. Supporting actress was Divine Joy Randolph. And let's see, screenplays went to original, or adapted went to Zone of Interest, and original went to The Holdovers. Past Lives was new filmmaker, and non-English language film was Zone of Interest. So actually, the first time I think Anatomy of a Fall did not win.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra Huller beat herself.
Yeah. Pretty much. I think this was probably the most predictable one. I think we talked about it specific to our latest episode, but this was, I think, fairly easy to predict that Boston would go for Holdovers. It makes sense. I like that there is a boost here for Giamatti as well, and that there's some traction behind that performance. I think it's again bodes well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good for The Holdovers. I think the Zone of Interest alone winning Boston for director would not be, I think, particularly notable, but the fact that it happened on the same day as LA, and LA went so hard for Zone of Interest, I think definitely catapulted that film, because it had been kind of quiet so far in terms of the precursors, but now I think it's made a big
it's starting
splash.
To happen. Yeah, it feels like it's starting to happen. Which again, when we get to talk about the Globes, we'll talk about it a little more in depth. But it's really on me for not remembering how the foreign film rule had changed. But then for both Anatomy and Zone to show up in picture drama, that's, I think, a huge deal.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. But I totally forgotten that too.
Yeah.
And it's definitely the type of exposure that both of those films needed at this point in the race, I think. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that they both were able to show up well.
Do you have Glazer in your top 5 at this point?
I just put him in, actually.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I think between winning LA and showing up, winning Boston, and Zone of Interest doing well at the Globes too, I think, there's usually at least one foreign director. I think he's the one this year.
Yeah. I wasn't sure for the longest time, because it just felt to me like Anatomy was stronger, but I think they're very evenly matched as we're seeing. So I don't think that it would be outside around the possibility that both Triet and Glazer make it in.
I think it's possible too. I have her at my 6th.
Yeah.
So
which would be, I think, really exciting.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she does a phenomenal job of it's not a director's movie necessarily, Anatomy of a Fall, but when you think about the intricacy of everything, like, she does a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
What I mean by it's not a director's movie, it's not like super splashy, like big, huge set pieces. It's a really tight interpersonal drama that she pulls off beautifully.
And she got such great performances out of everybody.
Yes.
Everyone. Excellent. So, yeah.
Even like the judge and the prosecutor.
The prosecutor was amazing. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love French Court, by the way. I want all court dramas to be like French Court.
It's so petty and, extra. Yeah.
It's so cunty. I love it. Well, anyways, let's move on to LA. And because you did pretty well in your predictions, I have to say.
I think it falls off a little bit when we're talking about acting, but yeah, I was pretty happy with the turnout. Yeah.
Yeah, picture and director went to Zone of Interest in Glacier. Lead performances were Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall and Emma Stone for Poor Things, Emma Stone's first appearance. Supporting performances were Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers and Rachel McAdams for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Correct me if I'm mistaken, but Hüller won for both Anatomy and Zone, right?
Oh, you're right. Yes.
Okay.
Hüller won for Anatomy of a Fall and
Yeah.
Zone of Interest. That's
Yeah.
a great point.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Which I think matters insofar as maintaining the hope that she gets like double dipped alive. But I mean, people are watching Zone of Interest. That is happening. It's undeniable.
It's coming out this weekend
than I figured. So I'm still fairly confident that it could happen, even just on the strength of her. I would say 99% assured Best Actress nomination.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think if Zone continues to perform well, and we'll talk about with the Globes, I think supporting actress opening up for reasons, I think she can definitely make it in supporting as well.
Yeah. Reasons being related to Color Purple.
Yes.
Which even after the Globe nominations, to me, just continues to baffle, because obviously it's not doing anything with the critics, because it was never going to do anything with the critics, and we knew that. But I'm not even exactly sure how many people have actually seen it.
Yeah, it's such a big mystery. There's been the one screening that Oprah hosted,
which went great. Predictably, I would say a lot of enthusiasm, but then the actual sort of like screenings that happen abroad, not so great.
Yeah. And the embargo is just like such a red flag.
I'm sorry to say, it really is, especially for a movie that you're putting out at Christmas, basically.
That you want to be an Oscar contender.
Yeah, literally waiting for the last week of the year to actually release press about it. It just seems reckless, especially if we're wrong and actually the reviews are great. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. We'll talk about that more with the Golden Globes, but yeah, there's something awry with that whole rollout that I don't understand.
Yeah, which is to say, your original point that maybe supporting actress is a little more fluid, and much to my dismay, maybe Henson isn't actually going to happen after all.
Yeah, we haven't seen her anywhere yet.
Yeah, opens up things a little bit to look into different, equally great options, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think going back to LA, I think Emma Stone appearing here is interesting, but also just kind of confirms that she's strong. I don't think she's nearly as strong as Gladstone is right now, but she's there. Rachel McAdams is an interesting choice. There's been a lot of love for her performance. I've not seen it yet, but
yeah.
I think she's, with this win, definitely gets put in the top 10 for sure. Maybe around like 8 or so. I think there's a world where it could happen. But I'm not putting her in my top 5 yet.
I'm more on the side that it's not going to happen, and she's, I think, likely to show up places where there's more than 5 nominees, because she is in the top 10. I completely agree with that. It just, I think there's just no movie behind her, pretty much, to help her out. Not even screenplay, nothing. So it's just difficult.
I think the one big interesting thing that came out of LA was the fact that Lily Gladstone got put supporting, which we talked about, for Killers. She was the runner-up. And that seemed intentional.
Yeah. Oh,
Sus.
No. Yeah. But honestly, I think the only scenario that I see where this could happen again is maybe a BAFTA.
Oh, yeah. I could see them doing something like that.
But because BAFTA likes to move people around, but apart from that, I think she's safe where she is.
Oh yeah, I think it's an interesting thing to note. I don't think it's going to overall cause any real damage.
Yeah. And I don't know if I already said this, but I think it would be. I feel it would be more of a challenge if Stone hadn't won an Oscar already,
Right. If
or
she
it would
hadn't,
be
she would.
more of a race. I think if Stone hadn't won for La La Land, but it feels like that they checked that box, and I think just the narrative behind Gladstone, even outside of her performance, is just too strong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right.
yeah.
The other runner-up in supporting, by the way, was Ryan Gosling and Barbie. The runners-up for lead performance were Andrew Scott of All of Us Strangers and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. So
Good news for both of them, I think.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on the radar for sure. Screenplay went to All of Us Strangers. Foreign language went to Anatomy of a Fall, and New Generation Award went to Celine Song for Past Lives. So keeping with
Yeah.
the trend for both of those types of categories.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a good lineup, I think, overall. I still don't really understand how how the non-gendered acting sort of categories are adjudicated. But I think they managed to find 4 really good performances and also to say, fuck man. So that's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
they're all women, so I love it. Yeah, yeah. That's like the one thing in my mind is like how do we rate like who got the number one and who got the number, because there's probably clearly one person who got like the most votes, one person who got the second most
I mean,
votes.
with the old sort of setup, Gosling would have won supporting actor.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah.
Right. So, but I think it's good news for all 4 of them. Divine continues to just steamroll, which I love because she's so good in that movie.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the Golden Globes. Before we get into the categories, any general thoughts?
I think that the expanded voting body is doing good things.
Yes.
And I think for how predictable some of these were, then we also got a couple of completely out of left field nominations that just, I think, are delightful.
Yeah, there's definitely some nominees here that would have never been nominated, I think, in the previous iteration of the Globes.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other big takeaway is just Color Purple flopping so hard.
Yeah, if there ever was a movie made for the Golden Globes,
literally, where there's literally a category for it, and they still managed to snub it. It got 2 nominations, right?
2 nominations for Fantasia for lead in comedy musical, and then Danielle Brooks for supporting actress.
Yeah, and it just feels like there's just no steam behind it, because we were saying last time it really needs a huge showing here, because it seems like engineered to do well at the Globes, and they paid it dust.
Like, I almost wonder, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I almost wonder if they embargoed the way they did because they thought like the Globes nominations would come out first. They'd get a bunch of Globe nominations that would offset any like critical, any criticism they got when the reviews came out. Does that make sense?
Because Critics' Choice is next, and it's not going to do anything there.
No. And then I saw a tweet where someone's like, "Well, I think BAFTA could still pick it up," and I was curious, and I went back and I looked, and the original, this is just a random fun fact that's a total aside, the original Color Purple only got 1 BAFTA nomination. It got a screenplay nomination.
Yeah, BAFTA is racist.
Yes.
So, I mean...
And they hate, like, very American-centric films, and especially if it's African-American.
We know that.
They prove it over and over and over again.
BAFTA's going to pick it up and do what? Throw it out of the balcony? What are they going to do? Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, this was the place for the Color Purple to kind of establish some kind of dominance.
Unless the Critics' Choice somehow revives it, or it somehow makes a big splash at SAG, which I don't anticipate. It's looking like Brooks could feasibly be the only nomination.
Yeah. not even like TBD song is showing up anywhere. Like,
TBD.
yeah, whatever it's called. It's not even getting the nominations that people just had already put in the bank. Like, even before we knew what the song was called, it's for sure getting it. Nope, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I still think there's a world where, I mean, Margaret Avery didn't have any precursors and she got nominated. I mean, I could see a world,
It
I
was a
guess, where
different
Henson
time,
still
but
gets
yeah.
in. Yeah, it was much different time back then too. I could see a world where Henson still gets in. It gets a few texts, but I don't think going to be in the best picture race. It's not going to be in any of the other above the line categories. The original trailer and how that seemed so off. We're starting to see that was not just like a mistaken reading of it.
Yeah, no, and that just really stuck with me, like, the entire time since, like, watching the trailer. Just, there's something off here. And also, I was thinking there isn't even like a big name director behind it to kind of like drum up, interest in terms of, even if it's not doing well, it is a big X, Y, or Z movie, because it's not. So I'm trying to find or create like a path for it, and it's just, I just don't think there is one.
Yeah, this was
It.
corner. It was key to its path, and it,
Yeah.
even with an expanded 6 nominees, it still didn't get into comedy musical picture. Well, let's go through the categories, and we'll probably talk more about that. But where do you want to start with the categories?
We went all the way down to foreign, so we can start from there.
Oh, sure you don't want to talk about stand-up or cinematic and box office achievement?
I'm not an expert, but I think it's going to Netflix.
Yeah. Non-English language picture, the nominees are Anatomy of a Fall from France, Fallen Leaves from Finland, Il Capitano from Italy, Past Lives from the United States, which was interesting, Society of the Snow from Spain, and Zone of Interest from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I question the inclusion of Past Lives in here.
Same.
Because what is the category called? Is it foreign film or foreign language film?
It's non-English language. Best picture, non-English language.
I don't know about that.
But over half the movie is in English.
That would have, I think, informed my process a little differently, because I went 3 out of 6 here. But had I known that it was a possibility, I would have put Past Lives in here for sure.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was a possibility either.
Yeah, exactly. It's so same. I think it's a good lineup. I think it's really good. It's really good news for Italy. And Il Capitano is pretty much like showing up everywhere now. So I would say, so it's not going to win. It's not going to win anything. But I think it's probably...
It's on the road to a nomination, though.
Yeah, it's probably getting nominated, I would say at this point. Really bad news for Taste of Things.
Yeah, no Taste of Things, which is really interesting.
Especially in light of how well Anatomy is doing across the board, not just in foreign film, just across the board. They really shot themselves in the foot.
Completely.
Yeah. I would have told you probably like last week, I think Anatomy is easily winning this, but I'm not so sure anymore. And I think it could easily be Zone. And
it's 50-50 for me too.
Yeah. But it's a really good lineup. Yeah.
Because Zone's kind of peaking. Anatomy, I think, is always going to be a contender in these categories until the Oscars, where it's not eligible. I mean, it's won basically every one except for maybe one.
Yeah.
Except for Boston, I think.
Yeah.
But Zone is peaking right now, so yeah, it could be either.
Yeah, I think I have it at the Oscars. I think I still have it in for like 5 or 6 nominations. And
nice.
I'm gonna go the way of Tar with it, where I also probably put it in editing and cinematography. Yeah. So it can't win foreign film, but I don't think that's gonna hurt it. It's not going to hurt insofar as it's just showing up in the main Best Picture sort of like lineup for most of these like awards and critics, so it doesn't matter.
Also, big day for Finland. We'll talk about Fallen Leaves more in a moment, but yeah, that I have not seen it. I heard great things, and then it kind of fell off the map a little bit, but now I feel like it's definitely back.
I'm getting the screener, I think, in the next 2 weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds super depressing, but also kind of funny, kind of like in keeping with the kind of movies that he makes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like low key my favorite nomination.
Same, actually. Even though I have not seen it, I just
My
think it was
favorite
really
thing that's happened
inspired.
at the Globes since like, yeah, Glenn Close. Yeah. So it's like Pia Zadora winning like Rising Star in like 1982 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only other thing to note in this category is that it's all European or American,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some I don't expect the Oscars to be all European
Me
films. I
neither.
think
No,
there's couple
it
of
hasn't
big
happened in a while.
contenders.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just interesting of note, I don't know if that's reflective of the new voting body or just that's how the leaves fell, as it were, this time.
It's, I think, both. Definitely reflective of like the expansion of the voting body to people that actually understand cinema.
Yeah.
But also the fact that there's just two foreign films that are just so strong across the board. That's putting us
Which I love.
In this category, which I really, really love.
So let's check in on screenplay. Okay, so best screenplay, the nominees are Barbie, Poor Things, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Past Lives, and Anatomy of a Fall.
Great lineup. I'm a little shocked that Holdovers didn't make it in. I would say, yeah, great lineup outside maybe Barbie, that I think I could take it or leave it here, especially. And also I think the fact that May December didn't make it in is a little surprising. I went 4 out of 6, but the 2 that I didn't get, I would have probably told you these are 100% in. So I think that's surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, I got, let's see. Yeah, I missed Anatomy. I had Holdovers in, so I got 5 of the 6.
Nice.
Yeah, Holdovers and May December, I think, are the 2 notable omissions.
Yeah. I just have a sneaking suspicion that Past Lives is going to win this.
I could definitely see it, because I think, did it get 5 nominations total? So yeah, I think it could definitely win here.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just one of those movies that's got like screenplay Oscar written all over it to me.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of director, the nominees are our good friend Bradley Cooper, Greta Gerwig for Barbie, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Scorsese for Killers, and Celine Song for Past Lives.
I'm really happy that there's 2 women in here. I just think for the optics of, all the rebuilding that specifically the Golden Globes have to do, I think that it's just not in the right direction. I went 4 out of 6. I had Jefferson and Payne in, and so Jefferson was more of, testing like fate, but like I was pretty sure that Payne would get in.
I had a Payne too. I went 4 of 6 too.
But then I guess it makes sense that it would not happen here, because it also didn't happen for screenplay. So I feel like they like the Holdovers, but they're not crazy about it.
That's what I picked up as well. I think they're weak on Holdovers, but we'll talk about it in a little bit. I think Critics' Choice is going to be strong with Holdovers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Seeing Celine Song get in here is, again, just like another big vote of confidence for the movie as a whole.
Yeah, I just think it's, exciting.
Yeah, and Bradley Cooper from Maestro is definitely, I think, the most like old school Golden Globes style nomination of the list.
Yeah.
So 4 out of 6 there. Should we go into supporting?
Yeah.
Supporting actor. So Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, Robert De Niro for Killers, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, Charles Melton for May December, and Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things.
Yeah, I would have gone 5 out of 6 had I put Gosling in here instead of lead. So that's on me. I'm glad that they didn't fall for Lordy. That they were able to restrain themselves. I had Cesco in here, but then seeing how Holdovers was kind of hit or miss, it doesn't really surprise me. I think the 4 that we all thought were going to make it in did actually make it in.
Yeah.
And this category is just kind of like, I think 5 people with like a couple of people just outside of the top 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the final lineup will be 5 of the 6 guys here.
Yeah.
Is my prediction now. I went on a limb with Jeremy Allen White for the Iron Claw. And then also I had Jacob Elordi for Priscilla, but I figured he was the it boy. But they went with more of the old guard.
Yeah.
With Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, and De Niro. So 4 out of 6 for me.
Yeah. I could still see Melton win here, and then just Downey Jr. starts winning SAG, and then things change from there. But I don't know. I just think that Melton is the more like Globe friendly pick here.
Yeah, he's the young hot star, which they love. Downey Jr., I agree. I think is winning SAG and a cakewalk.
Yeah.
He could win here.
Yeah.
But I think the momentum's around Melton right now. So, and with the new voting body, they might actually be less star fuckery than usual. So going for like the big older stars might not be like they usually would. Might not be their bag this year.
Yeah.
What's going to be interesting with supporting actor too is BAFTA will shake it up because right now there are no Brits in this lineup.
Yeah.
So
which we know
BAFTA will
change. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll shove a Brit in there, or Paul Mescal. You never know.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. Speaking of Brits, there's a surprise Brit in supporting actress. So supporting actress was Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, Jodie Foster for Naiad, Julianne Moore for May December, Rosamund Pike for Saltburn, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers.
We threw her name out like right at the end of like the last episode, and I'm glad we did because they do love her. Like the Globes just love her.
They do.
They also love Jodie Foster, honestly, and I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Yeah, she won for the Mauritanian here.
Yeah, she won for the Mauritanian. Yeah, so I went 4 out of 6. I would imagine that Randolph continues to just win. If things change, we get that pivot from like Laurie Metcalf to like Alison Janney, but that didn't happen until the industry started sort of pitching in. So I think for now Randolph is pretty much golden.
Yeah, especially with the very poor performance of The Color Purple. I think this was the moment where I think people were expecting Brooks to take over the narrative. Just because the one screening that went well, the word of mouth for her was so strong. But without Henson getting nominated and with the film showing up nowhere else except for here in Fantasia, like I just don't see the momentum shifting to her because Divine has so much of it right now. Yeah.
I don't know. This category still remains a little shapeless for me. I'd be okay if just Randolph just continues to like win everything. Then she wins SAG, she wins the Oscar and all of that. But I'm just not sure yet that can happen.
Yeah, I'm totally happy if that happens.
Yeah.
I think Moore is moved up, and she's definitely in on my list now.
Yeah, same.
She is to me Portman is fantastic, and but she has a much more solidified category to try to break into. There's so much fluidity here in supporting actress that I think Moore can easily position herself.
Yeah.
And Foster, yeah, is setting herself up well. And I think perhaps even the semi-recent Mauritanian snub for Oscar might play in her favor here, and she might be
Yeah.
able to make it in, especially if
I
Benning is positioned to get in.
I figured I would probably hold off on her until SAG, but then again, we just said the Globes do love her. So in hindsight, it was a pretty big oversight. I would say of the two, I think Foster is slightly better positioned than Benning, probably. Just
The
because
category has more room, yeah.
just because actress is a little tighter. But it's also one of those situations. It's kind of like with Gosling and Robbie and Barbie, where it just feels off to me to predict one and not the other. And I just kind of have to get over that, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of like they're in it together. So much of the movie is about their relationship.
Yeah.
And them doing the thing together. So yeah, she's definitely, I think, moving up as well. The color purple not showing well, it really opens up this category.
Yeah.
Let's move over to comedy. The actor and actresses. We'll start with comedy actor. It was Nicolas Cage for Dream Scenario, Timothée Chalamet for Wonka, Matt Damon for Air, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. I had Joaquin Phoenix in the wrong category. Joaquin Phoenix for Beau is Afraid, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction.
Yeah, 4 out of 6. I would have never thought of shoving Joaquin Phoenix in here, honestly.
Me either.
Especially for a movie that flopped that hard.
That long ago.
Yeah, it just seems like they were really just looking for someone to just round out the 6. And I think I also think sabotaged like myself with the Gosling kind of like switcheroo from supporting to lead, which I mean it sounded reasonable.
No, it totally was. It's something they would totally do.
And I still think that this is probably Giamatti's to lose. Yeah,
I agree. With the momentum he has from the Critics Awards and the fact that American Fiction has yet to really. I mean, Wright showed up here. It showed up in comedy film, but American Fiction has yet to break out the way the Holdovers has in different areas. I think, it's Giamatti's right now.
Yeah, because I would say Wright could be also in a good position, but I think he's in kind of like the same boat as Giamatti, as in the film is nominated, but the director isn't. The screenplay isn't. So I think just on the strength of the performances, I feel like Giamatti kind of edges him out a little bit. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say they're definitely top 2 by a long shot.
Yeah.
I don't even know who I'd put in third. Maybe Matt Damon? I don't know. But it's like a very distant third.
Yeah.
But Air did show well. We'll talk about that in a second, which was interesting. Cool. Comedy actress was Fantasia for The Color Purple, Jennifer Lawrence for No Hard Feelings, Natalie Portman for May December, Alma PÖYSTI, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Fallen Leaves, which was amazing, a really unexpected but inspired choice, and then Margot Robbie for Barbie and Emma Stone for Poor Things.
Yeah, so I think we all went like 5 out of 6 here, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and out of anyone that could have rounded out this category, I think they went with the best possible option. I haven't seen Fallen Leaves yet, but I don't care. Anytime a foreign actress in a small foreign movie manages to kind of like sneak in like this, I just think it's amazing. And she's actually really famous in Finland. She is one of the bigger names there.
Isn't she from like a big film family? Or I think I could be wrong, but I think I read that. So, and also like one of my favorite things about award season is seeing nominations like this, because it helps a person gain opportunity. It helps them gain, a leg up in their career, and that international exposure that I think brings their talent to more people.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a path for her. This might be a one and done thing, as in she shows up here and that's it. But it's just, I think it's just great. I was watching like
Yeah.
reactions on YouTube, and every time her name pops up, like everybody's like, "What?" Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. It's a signal of really, I think, the Golden Globes, despite, there's they still have issues, I know, but it's a good sign for things to come.
Super good sign. Yeah. I think Stone wins here. I would probably keep Portman and Robbie in the conversation, but I just feel like Stone has the edge.
Yeah, I feel Stone is pretty far out front too.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go over to drama actor. So we have Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers, and Barry Keoghan for Saltburn.
Yeah, I went 5 out of 6. I had Zac Efron in. I swapped one good boy for another. I'm very ashamed of missing out. Well, I mean, I'm ecstatic that Scott made it in. I just didn't think
Yeah.
that they would actually go for him, at least
I,
not here. So yeah, I'm so happy that he made it in. I haven't given up on Efron yet, just
no, I
yet,
think Iron
but
Claw just debuted or just premiered. It's opening this weekend. I think
yeah,
there's definitely still a possibility. I think Critics' Choice could definitely bring him into the conversation.
SAG as well.
SAG, yeah.
Especially if he gets an ensemble. Yeah. Um, but just looking at the lineup, I don't see how Cooper is losing this.
Yeah, it's going to go to Cooper, especially since he got the director nomination.
Yeah, because he's not winning that one.
No, he's not winning that. Yeah, I think Cooper's going to take it. Murphy is
How's
a
that
possible
chance?
second.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think this definitely helps Coleman Domingo. He's been it's been quiet for him so far on the awards trail, I think.
Yeah,
Andrew
it's
Scott, I
it's
think,
just a
really needed
difficult
this.
movie, it seems. Yeah. So,
I just watched it actually. He's fantastic in it. He's endlessly charming and engaging and really, really good. The movie itself is just so like standard. It's like a very standard biopic.
yeah.
So that I think is the biggest thing holding him back. If the movie had been more critically loved, I think it was liked and respected, but I don't think it was loved. I think he would be much stronger, but he's still, I think, on the bubble. And I think Andrew Scott needed to show up here, so I'm glad he did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really happy that there's two gay actors nominated for playing two gay characters.
Yes.
That's just, just great. I still think that Cooper is walking away with this one, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, I think all in all, it is a pretty decent lineup, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had predicted Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon here because I figured they'd have some, idiotic nomination, but they didn't. They surprised me.
That movie is, where is it?
It's nowhere. I don't think it got any
It's
nominations.
not here. Yeah. Yeah. Nope.
And that, to me, was like if it was going to show up anywhere, it was going to show up here.
I thought Kirby might show up.
Oh, yeah.
But nope.
Nope.
No. Yeah.
Well, in more positive news, let's look at the best actress in a drama lineup. So it's Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Annette Bening for Naiad, Greta Lee for Past Lives, and Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla.
6 out of 6. No notes.
I got 6 out of 6 too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's Gladstone. It's again a lineup with a couple of performances that I really really like, a couple that just felt inevitable, and it doesn't really matter because Gladstone's winning. So
Yeah, I think Gladstone's winning. I think Bening is in second.
yeah, I'd like to think that Hüller is in second just because Anatomy is stronger than Naiad, but Bening has the name recognition, I think.
and they love her at
and the veteran
the
status. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I would say Holler is right behind her. Like they're pretty close in second.
yeah.
I mean, I could see it given the new voting body. I could see them going for Sandra Hüller
Hmm.
as a kind of a surprise win. But I do think Gladstone will take it. So I would say Spaney's gone, and then it's between Greta Lee and Annette Bening, I think, for that last spot. Or
Okay,
actually,
yeah,
Carrie Mulligan, I could see getting
I would
left
agree.
out. She
Yeah,
hasn't won anything yet. I think if you replace Kaylee Spaney with Emma Stone in the 6, Gladstone and Huller and Stone are in, and then the final two will be between Mulligan, Benning, and Greta Lee. Is my thought right now.
yeah.
Okay, so Best Picture, musical or comedy: Barbie, Poor Things, American Fiction, The Holdovers, May December, and Air.
So I had the color purple in here against my better judgment.
I did too.
And that ended up being the only one that I missed.
Yeah, I
for
got
Air.
5 or 6 as well.
Yeah. If you had told me the color purple is getting 2 Globe nominations, I would have told you picture and song. Shows what I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they went out of their way, I think, to not nominate The Color Purple.
Yeah. It was never going to win, but yeah, it is still pretty shocking. Do you have Poor Things winning?
Right now, I do. Yeah, Poor Things. I think Barbie could spoil, but
yeah.
Poor Things right now.
I'm honestly not sure. I think Barbie is also really strong. It is the most nominated movie at the Globes.
That is true.
It got 9.
Yeah, because it got 3 song nominations.
Yeah, most of them is trying to song where it got pretty much like all the songs in. But it's between the two of them, I think. But I think that I was fairly sure last week, like 2 weeks ago, I was fairly sure the Poor Things would walk with this, and now I think it's not that locked up.
Yeah, they're definitely top 2.
Yeah.
Holdovers didn't perform as well, so I think it's out of the conversation.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it doesn't have the director nomination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Barbie's 9 nominations are definitely worth watching. And last but not least, motion picture drama. Some expected, some surprises, I would say. Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Past Lives, The Zone of Interest, and Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, so probably like the 2 movies that I am most passionate about are the 2 that I didn't predict in here because I didn't think that they could.
I know, same. I got 4
otherwise
out of 6
I would
too.
have. Yeah. Great for them. They're not going to win, but it's just great exposure. It just shows how strong they are, I think. There's people watching them. There's people loving them. They're showing up places where we didn't expect them to show up. I still think it's Oppenheimer with an outside chance for either Killers or Maestro. And Oppenheimer just feels like the Globe choice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, this lineup was surprising, but I think in a good way. Past Lives, I think, cements itself as a major player for the top 10.
Yeah.
I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6, there's 12 films nominated between picture and drama and comedy. I think the only one that has no chance is Air.
Yeah.
The rest are very much in contention, I think, for the Best Picture nominee.
Yeah, and even stuff like Saltburn, Iron Claw that I thought would get in, I still think that there's an outside chance for really both of them.
Yeah, because there's definitely been times in the past where a film has not shown up much at the Globes, but gone on to pick up steam later in the game.
Yeah.
And I think Iron Claw could be that type of movie.
It's still early, and the Globes are what they are. These are not people that vote for the Oscars for the most part. I think what I take out of it every year is what's being watched, essentially, what's on the map. So, you take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah. And I could also see a situation where Saltburn shows up well at the BAFTAs. And that helps squeak it into like the 10th position. So there's a few movies that are not in these two lineups that are definitely still on the bubble. But I would not be surprised if the top 10 comes from majority of these films.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the Globes?
I'm trying to think. I don't expect anything out of the ordinary to happen in terms of the winners, and I think we'll have maybe a different episode when we're closer to the ceremony, where maybe we have like our official predictions, and maybe at that point we'll have changed our mind on something. But I'd be shocked if PÖYSTI ends up winning. Actress comedy. I think we're gonna get fairly expected standard winners, and I think at that point we'll be thinking about SAG already. It's gonna be a different ballpark.
I don't think we're gonna have any like Andre Day moments where it's like an unexpected winner.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm surprised I didn't hate the nominations overall.
Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 surprises that kind of like refocused my attention, I think, a little bit.
Should we move on to our Critics' Choice predictions? Do those real quick.
Let's do it.
So let's start from the bottom again. Do non-English language screenplays. We'll do supporting. We'll do actor, actress. We'll do director. We'll do the top 10 or 11 that they have. Sometimes they have 11.
Well, yeah, there was an unbreakable tie.
So I have 10, but there could be 11.
Too. Yeah.
Cool. Who do you have for? Okay, these are our Critics' Choice Award predictions.
Yes.
Who do you have for foreign language film?
Anatomy of a Fall, Boy and the Heron, Fallen Leaves, Io Capitano, Society of the Snow, and Zone of Interest.
Oh, we have almost the same. I have Anatomy of a Fall, I have Zone of Interest, I have Taste of Things, I have Boy and the Heron, I have Io Capitano, and I have Fallen Leaves.
Yeah, this is a hard category to predict outside of the Oscars, I think, because you literally don't know what they're going to go for, and there's no restriction in terms of like one movie per country either, which makes it even harder for me because I don't know what they're watching, I don't know what they're liking. But I mean, could All of Us Strangers end up in here? I don't even know. I honestly don't know. I don't.
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
I don't even know that's an option. But kind of like with the Globes, I would imagine that I probably have like 3 or 4 out of the 5.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Anatomy, Zone, and Io Capitano for now are probably like the top 3 in this category. Yeah, give or take Fallen Leaves, which remains a little bit of a question mark, and it's going to be between Anatomy and Zone, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. I would say Anatomy just because of the way all the Critics Awards have been going.
Yeah.
But Zone is also peaking, so
yeah.
By the time the awards get handed out, Zone could be the winner as well.
Yeah,
but it's between those two are the strongest, I think.
Yeah.
Adapted screenplay. I have Killers of the Flower Moon, American Fiction, Oppenheimer, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, and Poor Things.
Damn. All right.
Are there supposed to be 6?
Yes.
Because last year there were only 5 adapted. So
I put in 6 for everything. We don't know what we're doing, but we have the best intentions. So just for the sake of consistency.
Oh, then if there's then I'm adding Zone of Interest if there's 6.
Yeah. Just for the sake of, I went with 6 for everything outside of picture and director, where everybody's getting nominated.
Everyone, you get a nomination. You get a nomination.
You got a nomination. Yeah. So I have All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
Nice.
Do we match?
I have Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Which is just kind of my...
No Guts, No Glory?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see All of Us Strangers.
So, yeah.
You're probably right.
I feel like my lineup is pretty safe. And I couldn't tell you, honestly, what ends up winning.
Yeah, this adapted is, I mean, Oppenheimer.
I can make a case for all 6, honestly.
But or Poor Things. I would say Oppenheimer or Poor Things, but then also Killers could easily win. American Fiction is also like the classic adapted screenplay winner, I think. So really, yeah, any of them.
Yeah, it feels like there's really no urgency to match screenplay with director or screenplay with picture. And more often than not, actually, screenplay is sort of like what you give to the movie that has no shot in either one of those categories. So it just, yeah, to me, it could be literally any of these 6. If you ask me today, I would probably go with Zone of Interest.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too, especially
just
since
to be fancy.
It's peaking, and it might also generally just be the best one.
Yeah.
But you're right. The screenplay categories at the Oscars too are so often just consolation prizes.
You go, Glenn Coco. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh, we're not going to give you Best Director, Sofia Coppola, so we'll give you, or Emerald Fennell, we're going to give you, or Jordan Peele, we're going to give
you.
Yeah, we're going to give you the screenplay award.
Yeah.
For original, what do you have?
Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Holdovers, May, December, Past Lives, and Saltburn.
We match. It's a match.
Gonna be wrong. But yay!
We're gonna get 4 out of 6.
This was harder for me to predict than adapted. And also, I'm not really sure that Barbie is going to translate into a screenplay nomination at the Oscars unless it does really, really, really well. I think it's sort of like a compromise between what was popular and what critics actually liked, which seems to be kind of like how they go about things in here. Yeah. So, yeah.
The other ones that came to mind for me that I did not put in, Maestro, of course. Air, I could see getting in here. And also the Iron Claw. If they feel spicy.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I think I have Maestro a little I have it underperforming a little here.
Yeah, that's why I didn't put it in here.
Exactly. So it could totally happen. And we're still talking about a body of voters that are just mainly concerned with predicting the Oscars.
Yeah.
Again, critics last year were all over After Sun. And then when it actually came to, give out awards, it's like the movie didn't even exist.
Right.
So, we know who we're playing with here. So
it's a weird tension between like what you see the actual critics voting groups reward, and then you get to this group, and the instinct is to kind of like match up what you've seen from the critics awards, but then you also have to add in this huge healthy dose of starfuckery, because they're just desperate to become like legitimate precursor, like surpass the Golden Globes, but they can't because they always have such a shitty show.
Isn't Chelsea Handler like hosting this?
Is she? Oh, I didn't know.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, every day it's like, what are you doing?
Girl, get it together.
So yeah, I would say probably Past Lives. Sure, why not?
Yeah. I could definitely see, again, kind of as a consolation prize.
Yeah.
Not to say that it wouldn't. It's a terrible. It's a good. It's a good screenplay. Like it, but it would be more of a consolation prize, I think. Cool. I hate to admit that for supporting actor, I have the exact same 6 that got nominated at the Globes. Robert Downey Jr., Gosling, Melton, De Niro, Dafoe, and Ruffalo.
Wait. Dafoe, De Niro, Downey Jr., Gosling, Melton, and Ruffalo?
Yes.
Oh my God, we're gonna be wrong.
We got 4 out of 6.
Actually, it might actually be like this boring, and we're right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, who else is there really?
Yeah, the category has really started to close. I guess I would pull out Dafoe if I pulled out one. But even then, I'm not sure.
Though, I just feel like when it comes, especially the Oscars, that if there's an opportunity to kind of like throw him in the mix, they will.
Yeah. Oh, I fully expect him to be in the. Yeah, he's definitely close for the Oscars. For here, though, if I had to pick one person to replace for like a Dominic Sessa or a surprise nominee, it'd be either him or Ruffalo, probably. But I could be wrong.
It would probably be him, actually. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
Supporting actress, I have Divine Joy Randolph, Danielle Brooks, Emily Blunt, Jodie Foster, Julianne Moore, and then I have Rachel McAdams for Either God It's Me, Margaret.
All right, we do not match.
Yes!
For the most part, I think I have Blunt, I have Claire Foy, Sandra Huller, Rachel McAdams, Julianne Moore, and Divine Joy Randolph.
Oh.
Nice.
I really hope Huller gets in here.
I mean, I have to believe that All of Us Strangers is going to do something here.
Yeah, Claire Foy has been strangely absent this entire Critics season so far.
This would be a good time to remember that she's in the movie. Yeah.
She's always had very odd luck, I think, with Oscar campaigns.
As in none.
None. Like things you think she was set up for, like First Man.
She was.
Just turned out to be nothing. The whole movie turned out to be like almost a non.
But I mean, there was a stretch of time where people were like, she is going to win for this.
But yeah, I could definitely see there's going to be some surprises, I think. And that's why I'm like, with supporting actor, I'm like, ugh, it's not going to match 6 to 6. But yeah, I could definitely see her happening. I really want Huller to happen. I didn't put her in just because I tipped starfuckery.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see Foster, instead of Foster, Huller gets in, especially if Zone is.
It is. I mean, it is a Critics, and again, Zone of Interest. I expect it to do really well here, which then means probably it helps her in supporting. Also, the fact that she's also getting nominated in lead. Am I 100%? No. It's more of, I hope it happens, and it also makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
So why not? Yeah.
All right. Best Actor. I have... Go ahead. I went last time.
All right. Cooper, Giamatti, Keoghan, Murphy, Scott, Wright.
Oh, interesting. We have a few differences. I have Murphy, Cooper, DiCaprio, Giamatti, Domingo, and Scott.
Well, between the two of us, we are correct.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
I actually do think DiCaprio is the weakest here, but...
Same. Yeah.
Just being the big star, I put him in. And because I think Killers will get a lot of other nominations.
It will. I just feel like the Killers can still do really well without him being part of the conversation.
Yeah, he's kind of like Robert De Niro was for The Irishman. He's the lead performance, but he's also the one that people care about the least.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was sort of like that factored in my thinking in terms of like, is it really necessary to get him in for the movie to do well? No. So, bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Scott getting in here. I think he's definitely been strong enough with critics. Same with Coleman Domingo. But though he also is someone I think could miss for Wright.
I don't have him in, and I'm a little sad about it. I just don't think the movie is strong enough.
Yeah, the movie is very, just like I said, standard and kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
It's very safe, I think, in terms of, because it's a Barack Obama production, so of course they're not going to go like too wild with the politics. So it feels very like an MSNBC special on Saturday morning kind of thing.
It just feels like one of those like Wikipedia biopics to me.
Yeah.
That's what I call them. So yeah, it's hard for me to imagine that there's enough enthusiasm behind the movie to find a spot for him. And I mean, because it is I think it is a pretty packed race.
Yeah, and this category is also very, very, very crowded.
Yeah.
And I think Murphy will win here, actually, or Giamatti. I don't think Bradley Cooper is going to win here just because of how meh critics have been on Maestro.
I haven't thought about it. I think probably of my six, the only one that I think doesn't really have a realistic chance is Kyogen.
I think he
But
could
yeah,
definitely get in for sure because he's kind of he was in last year and he's a big name right now. But yeah, I wouldn't imagine he's in the hunt to win though.
I guess I just need to sort of like decide whether I'm committing to the idea that we're gonna get like 20 first time nominees at the Oscars or
Right.
not, and I haven't made up my mind yet. And it really hinges on him and on Paul Mescal, essentially,
Yeah, you're right.
if I'm not mistaken. So I think I need a little more time to sit with the notion.
Shall we do our 455 director
Yeah,
nominees?
so I nominated all of them. Literally, if you made a movie this year, you're in.
Yes.
But go ahead.
Okay, so I have Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Greta Gerwig, Celine Song, Yorgos Lanthimos, Jonathan Glazer, Bradley Cooper, Justine Triet. I actually have Hayao Miyazaki for The Boy and the Heron, just kind of as a wishful, hopeful choice, and then Alexander Payne for The Holdovers.
Okay, we match 9 out of 10. I have Gerwig, I have Glazer, I have Cord Jefferson,
Oh, nice, yeah.
I have Lanthimos, I also have Miyazaki. I know. The Nolan, Payne, Scorsese, Song, and Triet. So I guess the one that we don't
Nice.
match maybe wasn't the expected one. Yeah, I don't have Cooper in.
Right.
I thought
He's
about
definitely on the
it,
lower end for
and I
me.
was getting nauseous. I was like, no.
Think of a number, darling. That's how many director nominees there's going to be.
But I mean, more likely than not, he's actually in, especially with like 10 slots available. I just didn't want to. I just
I
didn't want
respect
to.
that.
Yeah, I mean, because I was like, he's probably also putting him in, so we're gonna talk about him anyway. And do I have to do this to myself? I don't.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely the Globes. Globes love actor directors.
Mm-hmm.
They always have. I don't think the critics have the same.
Urgency? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see him making the top 10 lineup. If this was a top 5 lineup or even a top 6, I don't think he'd be anywhere near it. But
Yeah, I'm still worried in terms of the Oscars, but I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
yeah, it's. I maintain that Maestro is just not hitting with critics. I mean, they're
Yeah.
giving him like icon awards and
It's like the Good For You award. Yeah.
right. I know it's like it doesn't need necessarily all the critics awards because it's just by nature a big Oscar
Yeah.
missile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think he's with the lineup of directors that are out there. I just don't think he's going to get. He didn't get in for A Star Is Born,
No.
so I don't think he's going to get in for Maestro either.
Yeah.
All right, should we do our top 10 for film?
All right.
You will go first.
All right. So these are in alphabetical order, I think, because I'm slightly illiterate. But okay. So All of Us Strangers, An Enemy of a Fall, American Fiction, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest.
We have 9 of 10.
Yeah, I figured.
Instead of All of Us Strangers, I have May December, but
Oh, okay.
I think All of Us Strangers is probably in.
I just need to throw in like an actual critic's darling in here just for them to save face a little bit. Not that they care, but I mean, in terms of doing predictions, it is a critic's choice, and that should matter.
Yeah, I picked May December but I think that also hinges on how many gay voters there are.
Yeah, which I mean probably a lot.
Probably. So, but All of Us Strangers, especially if it's getting in for Scott, and it could also get in for screenplay.
Yeah,
It could definitely show up here too.
yeah. I have no idea what would win. I didn't have time to look at the Metacritic scores for these. I think it's either Anatomy or Zone with the highest score, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
But then they could just give it to Barbie, and I'd be okay.
Right,
yeah,
because
that
they're
tracks.
also
Yeah.
hungry for celebs. So there's really, I could make an argument for about 5 films
Sure.
winning here,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
I could see an argument for Anatomy. I could see an argument for Oppenheimer. I could see an argument for Barbie. Unfortunately, I could see an argument for Maestro, though I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Definitely an argument for Holdovers.
Yeah.
Definitely an argument for Killers. Poor Things for sure, and Zone for sure. So there's a lot that could definitely win here.
Yeah, I think they're just hard to crack because there's this tension between what they actually like, and what they usually go for because they just want to predict what's going to happen at the Oscars.
Right.
And generally, the two things are not one and the same.
It will be interesting. It's also going to be interesting to see how closely they match the Globes or not, since that's their main competition. So.
Yeah. I mean, these are still like the awards body that the year that we didn't know if Glenn Close or Lady Gaga was going to win, they just made up a tie.
Yeah.
And then it was Olivia Colman all along. So, yeah, it is.
They're kind of like the golden satellites with a budget, if we're being honest.
God bless them. Yes. Which, by the way, we never talked about them, but I have the utmost respect for the golden satellites who are doing their own thing.
Yeah, they dance like no one's watching.
Good, they don't care. Good for them. I relate a lot.
Awesome. I think we did it. I think we covered it.
We sure did.
We'll be back before you know it with, I'm sure, more Critics Awards that have come in to analyze. The Oscar nominations are drawing. They're within a month now, I think. Plenty of stuff happening between now and then. Let me pull up the awards watch. Oh, yeah, the Chicago Critics winners. We didn't talk about Chicago. Well, we did, I think, last time.
Yeah.
Documentary nominations from the PGA. We have things like Las Vegas, Florida, Texas, San Diego. A lot of different cities. Phoenix, Florida, North Carolina, the Black Film Critics, Greater Western New York Film Critics.
Yes.
Oh, and the shortlists come out on the 21st. That's an important one.
Okay, that's an important one. Is this off of Awards Watch?
Yeah, this is off of Awards Watch.
So shout out to Eric Anderson, who is
Eric Anderson,
Awards Watch overlord, as well as our mom.
Cool. Yeah, so we'll be back with the next big slate of City Awards and reactions to the Critics' Choice nominations, and then we'll eventually have an episode about the Oscar shortlists because those will be important. So much is happening. It's all happening.
It's all happening. All right. Until next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.